Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Grogan, and this is Unit 2, Lesson 3 for HTML. This section is on headings. All right. Before I get into Lesson 3, I do want to make sure that all of you have had a chance to review the video on Lesson 2. Lesson 2 did not count as an assignment. It's just simply an overview of the web lab, and there are some basics about the web lab that you do need to have a general understanding of in order to do the next several assignments in this unit. All right, and in particular, lesson 3. Just as a really quick review, all right, when you're coding using HTML, all right, you want to make sure that anything that's going to go into the website, you want to, whether any text in particular, and also later on when we get into images, you want to make sure that there's an opening and a closing tag to it. All right, and the opening tag will have a less than and a greater than symbol with the letter, well, if you're using a paragraph, with the letter P in between the greater than and less than symbols. The closing tag, which is at the end of the element, has a greater than and less than symbol with the letter P and a backslash inside in between the greater than and less than symbol, so that it looks something like this, where you have the opening tag here, you have the element content in here, and the closing tag. All right. And as I said, this is something that once you really start to get the hang of how the tags work, coding with HTML becomes a little bit easier. It does take a little bit of time to get the hang of it. And as you'll see that there are other letters that you can put in between the greater than and less than symbol on the opening and closing tag besides paragraph. And in particular, this lesson that I'm covering today will deal with one of those, which is called a heading. All right. So also make sure that that you're aware of the starter code. You're going to see that in the workspace on pretty much all of the sections over the next few lessons. All right. And this is all posted in Google Classroom. So make sure that you review this this PDF on HTML tags, and so that way you'll have a basic understanding of how this works. All right. So with lesson 3, all right, lesson 3 goes into headings, and obviously a heading is a title or summary for a document or a section of a document. Another thing that you're going to notice in this lesson is that there's a couple of sections, and there's a video on debugging. All right, and I may have mentioned this before. I believe I mentioned this in the other video, that a bug is a mistake in code. All right, and debugging is fixing mistakes in code. Because one thing that you're going to see in here is that you're going to make mistakes, and it's obviously, like, the main thing is that when you make a mistake on it, don't get frustrated with it. Just try to figure out what it is that you did wrong and try to fix it. All right, and a lot of what these lessons will entail will be fixing mistakes in code or fixing broken code, as you'll see. So so just keep that in mind. All right, the code that gets introduced are the heading tags, and to make sense of all this, that there on HTML, that there are 6 different heading sizes. All right, and it goes from largest to smallest. H1 is the largest heading size, and H6 is the smallest heading size. And the reason why that there are 6 different heading sizes is that, when you go into any web page that has a fair amount of text in it, you'll notice that there's a heading at the top, a large heading size, and then there are subheadings underneath it, much like you would see in a book or in an outline. All right, and so H1 would be the largest heading size, and H6 would be the smallest heading size. All right, and when I click on this little cheat sheet here, you'll notice it'll show you an example of how that works, of like a title and a subtitle. You'll notice here, when you have the largest heading size, all right, has an H1 tag around it. All right, both an H1 opening tag and an H1 closing tag. All right, and here's the text that goes underneath it. Notice that when you're putting in a heading, you don't need to put a paragraph tag around it. You just have to put a heading tag around the heading, all right? And the text, you just put a paragraph tag around, right? And if you're using a smaller heading size, you would go with H2, H3, H4, whatever. All right. So that's basically how that works. All right. So the assignment itself is sections 3 through 9. All right. Although section 7 is a video that it's about a 2-minute video on debugging, which I would recommend that you take a look at on your own time. All right. So moving right along, section 2 is a video on pair programming. Because of the COVID situation, I'm not going to go too in depth into pair programming, but it is a good thing that if you're working on an assignment that's if you pair programming is basically allowing you to work with someone or have someone else look at your work to see that it's correct and maybe offer their own input on it. So obviously it's always a good idea to have someone, another pair of eyes look at what you're doing and to make sure that you're doing it right, or if there's a way that you can make it look better, right? That's essentially what pair programming is. So moving on to section 3, and as I said, the assignment itself is sections 3 through 9. All right, I'm going to go through a couple of sections with you, but I'm going to have you do most of it on your own. This is a fairly easy section, but it's more or less just a section or this lesson is more or less a lesson that helps you kind of get more comfortable with programming, because at first glance, it may look a little overwhelming at first. So what you're going to do, okay, is, and as I mentioned in the other video, the top part here are the instructions, all right? On the side here, on the top half here on the side, you'll either see like a picture of what the final product should look like, or you may see questions here, all right? Common questions that pop up. So if you get confused over something at first, you may want to look over here because it may answer any questions that you have. Like what are some examples of bugs? Why does code sometimes turn pink? Which I will actually answer right now. Is that some code is going to be colored in pink, and when you see that, that means that there's broken code. Okay. Oops. All right. And it is automatically detecting. The web lab is detecting some mistakes in the HTML code. All right. When it does, it will turn. The code will be colored in pink. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the mistake is right there, but what it is that it's reading something in the code that doesn't seem right to the program. So that's why it's coloring this code in pink, just to indicate that they think that there's an error in code somewhere right around there. All right. Sometimes code will work even when it's broken. All right. However, it's not something you want to. If you see pink in the workspace here, you want to do what you can to fix it. Okay, because that doesn't mean that the website's going to run right. It may still run, but you may if you try to add more code in there later on, you're going to run into problems if you don't fix it. So, so what we're going to do here on the bottom part here, as I mentioned in the other video, there's 3 sections here. One of which has the files. All right. Right now we're on the index file. In future lessons, we're going to be adding stuff into the files section, especially when we get into CSS. All right. But we're going to get to that in the next lesson, actually. All right. And over here is the workspace. All right. And this is where you're actually entering in the code. All right. And the preview screen, which is over here on the right, is what the product will look like, after you add in code. Okay. And as I said here, this stuff up here, we're going to be getting into later on. Okay. The version history, if you mess up on a section really badly and just want to start over, you just click on that and it'll give you the chance to start over. All right. And if you make if you're adding code into the workspace and it doesn't show up on the preview screen right away, just click on refresh and save. All right. And also this screen, this button right here allows you to, what what this does is that it makes the entire bottom part turn into the preview section. All right. So what we're going to do here, okay, when we read the directions, it says that this HTML code has some bugs that are making the code pink. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to fix it. And you'll notice that down here, you'll have it's colored in red or pink. That's the body tag and the HTML tag. We're not going to mess around with those. All right. But what we're going to do is that you'll see another part of code here that's colored in pink. All right, you have a closing paragraph tag here. So what we're going to do is, if we look at this, you'll notice that there's a paragraph tag here. There's an opening paragraph tag and some text here, and then there's a closing paragraph tag. And over here, there's some text. And there's a closing paragraph tag here, but there's not an opening paragraph tag here. So if you have a closing tag on a line of code, when you start another line of code, you want to add an opening tag to it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to this key, and we're going to use a less than symbol here. That's how that works. Okay, and once you do that, the notice that the pink disappears from this line and this line. Okay, that basically means that everything's been fixed. All right, that's essentially how that works. All right, so what you do, as I said, on this right here, okay, you just add an opening paragraph tag right here, and that's on line 9. As you notice here that this where it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, those are lines of code. Okay. All right, so that's essentially how section 3 works. All right, once you do that, you just click finish and just go right to the next section, section 4. All right, I will do this section here for you. So in order to do this, you just pay attention over the next couple of minutes here. What you're going to see here, okay, is this goes into the headings, which I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. All right, and what you're going to see is what they want you to do is find the headings in the web page below and use the inspector tool to see the code that makes them. All right. And then they want you to change the code so that drawing in 2 years match the headings on the rest of the page. All right. So we look at the preview screen here. You'll see it says My Hobbies. And notice that there's it has soccer in 5 years, but notice that the heading sizes are different in size. That you have a subheading and a subheading. All right. And if we look at the workspace here, all right, you'll notice that inside the right after the opening body tag, okay, which by the way, as I mentioned in the prior video, anything that's anything that you want to go on the web page needs to be in between the opening body tag and the closing body tag down here. All right. Very important, because if you try to go outside it, it's probably not going to show up on the preview screen, or it's not going to show up on a web page. It's got to be in between the body tags. All right. So we have My Hobbies, which is has a H1 tag around it. So that's like the largest heading size. All right. Then we have Soccer, which has an H2 heading size. So notice that the H2 heading size is a little bit smaller than H1. Okay. And then underneath Soccer, it has 5 years. And notice that this heading size is a little bit smaller than the Soccer one. They used an H4 heading size here. Okay. And then this stuff here is text. Okay. So, and notice that the text has paragraph tags, an opening paragraph tag and a closing paragraph tag. Okay. Now, notice that there's a couple of sentences here, and the paragraph tags are, the element has 2 sentences in it. So obviously, you don't need to, at the end of each sentence, you don't have to put a closing paragraph tag on it. All right. So unless you wanted to. Then you have the baking in 10 years. All right. Baking has an H2 heading tag. All right. Same size as the Soccer one. And then 10 years has an H4 heading. All right. Again, the same as the 5 years up here. So now we get down to the bottom here where it says drawing in 2 years. Notice that the drawing has a paragraph tag on it, and 2 years has a paragraph tag on it. Okay, but notice that how the text looks on the web page, it looks like it's part of the paragraph text. We want to make drawing in 2 years have headings on them. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go up to drawing, and we are going to put an H2 heading here, H2 opening tag right before the word drawing. Then we go to closing tag. We have, I'm going to put an H2. Okay. And notice the change. Okay. Now we go to 2 years, and I'm going to put an H4 there, the opening tag, and an H4 for the closing tag. Okay. Now notice that in the closing tag, the way that it's differentiated between an opening tag is that the closing tag is going to have a backslash in it. So that way it differentiates, that shows that there's a difference between an opening tag and a closing tag. Closing tag obviously goes at the end. So notice that everything checks out. Okay. All right. So that's how that works. All right. Now the rest of this, pretty much have you do on your own. Okay. But I'll quickly go through them. All right. Section 5. Section 5. All right. If you look at this, all right, really what you're doing from here on out is reading the directions and just following the directions on here. All right. And what you have to do on section 5, all right, notice that when you look at the preview screen, you'll see 6 different things of text here, and they're all in different heading sizes. What they want you to do is they want you to change the tags so that the headings are in order from biggest to smallest, and the text says the correct size, as in the picture below. And it actually shows you, if you scroll down a little bit, it will show you what the final product should look like. All right. So you just have to make this here look like this. All right. And basically all you do on the workspace is just change the order of the heading sizes. So it goes H1, H2, H3, H4. Keep that at H5, H6. Okay. All right. Section 6 is multiple choice. All right. It's pretty self-explanatory there. Just look at the code below and predict how the headings will be displayed. Choose from one of the options on the right. So just look at this and try to figure out which one of these 4 would closely match what's on here. Okay. As I said, section 7 is a video. Right. Section 8. What you may want to do with section 8, there's 4 different activities here. Choose one out of the 4. Could be any one out of the 4. What I would recommend doing is, before you go into section 8, I'd say maybe try section 9 first. Okay. Section 9 is a little tricky, but once you do section 9, you could go back and, section 8 will be a lot easier. All right. What you're going to do on section 9 is use your heading and paragraph tags to code the structure into the page. All right. So if you look at the preview screen, you'll notice that there's a lot of, there's several sentences of code here, but it's just looks like one big paragraph. And if you look at the workspace, you'll see that there's a structure to it, but what it's missing are heading tags and paragraph tags. So you just put the heading tags were appropriate and the paragraph tags were appropriate. If you're stuck on this section, all right, one thing to do is refer back to section 4. All right, section 4 will, if you see how this is structured and see where the paragraph tags and the heading tags are, okay, on the workspace, basically you want section 9 to have the same structure as section 4. So what you're doing is on section 9 is that you're putting heading tag here, paragraph tag here, um, heading 2 tag here, heading 4 tag here, paragraph tag here, and then heading 2, heading 4, paragraph, heading 2, heading 4, paragraph. Okay, so just look at, refer to section 4 to help you with section 9. So all you're doing here is just adding the appropriate heading tags and paragraph tags. All right. As I said, this assignment is fairly simple to do. It's more or less like it helps you get comfortable with HTML. All right. And once you're done with section 9, you just make sure on section 8 it could just choose any one out of the 4 activities. All right. I'll just quickly go through what each one is. All right. If you choose this one, basically what you're doing is you're finding there's a problem here. You'll see right down here that there's a lot of pink code here. What you have to do is just fix the problem. And once you do that, then all of this will turn into blue. All right. If you choose, debugging the pink tags, okay, kind of the same concept here. All right. There's some pink tags here. What you want to do, that means that there's broken code. You just fix it. All right. Debug the subheadings, the same thing. Like this is all right. Just find the broken code and fix it. All right. And this one here is adding a larger heading. Okay. You'll notice if you look at the preview screen here, there's something that doesn't seem right. You need to, so you just need to fix that. So as I said, with section 8, you could pick any one out of the 4. Okay. All right. There's 4 things in section 8, but you only need to choose one. Could be any one out of the 4. All right. And once you're done with, as I said, once you're done with sections 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9, you're done with the assignment. All right. And, you can submit it to me in Google Classroom. All right. But I am able to view your work on the code.org website. All right. If you have any questions with any of this, please let me know. Thank you very much.